Welcome to Powerbombshells. We're just not your typical broads talking not your typical wrestling. I am Mel, that is Sam, and we have a new inaugural honorary broad on the broadcast to join us this week because he's a kind human, the effing king of recovery himself, Mr. Jim Valley. Welcome to the Powerbombshells. Thank you for being here.
I think being an honorary broad is an even better title than being the effing king of recovery. I wear it with honor. I don't take it lightly.
We appreciate that.
It's so great to have Jim on. He brought along his gift. If you missed it yesterday, at some point during our broadcast here, we'll go ahead and play the Jim wrote a song about some of the WWE, and we're not going to cover the WWE betting thing because plenty of people have weighed in, and there's when I listen to the Boom, I hear the 800 different podcasts there are for sports betting. So if you want to go listen to them, they're on Spotify. Believe me, I know they're ad supported.
Hey, good for them. Get paid like
get paid. That's right, Jeff Hawkins. Hashtag get paid. So we are.
Hey, Brad. Glad you could make it today.
Yay, Brad's here. So we will entertain some live commenters as they join us because sometimes they do. And Nikki is here. We love Nikki.
Nikki's my sister. So she's supportive in the chat. So
thank
you.
She's family. She's Powerbombshells family.
Is.
She's been on here. So let's see. What are we going to talk about first, Sam?
We can, I guess we can do a quick ROH, not recap, but we'll talk about that real quick. So ROH had its second episode on Thursday. They went ahead and got right into title matches in their second episode. They had three. They bookended the show. They opened with the TV title, which was Samoa Joe versus Tony Deppen. Tony Deppen is a previous ROH TV champion. So on episode 1, he said that he'd been watching. I think he said he was front row for Final Battle, and so he knew all of Joe's weaknesses. Apparently, he didn't know them well enough because Samoa Joe retained. And so then about midway through the show, they had Wheeler Yuta defended his Pure Championship against Timothy Thatcher, and that was Timothy Thatcher's debut in ROH. That surprised me because it feels like Timothy Thatcher's been everywhere for a very long time, and I didn't realize he'd never been in Ring of Honor before. And I believe Jim has a connection with Timothy Thatcher.
Yeah, Timothy was he out of Sacramento, something like that. I used to work for one of the incarnations of Portland Wrestling, Frank Culbertson's Portland Wrestling. He was a sales manager at the Portland, Oregon WB affiliate.
Oh, wow.
And so he got Portland Wrestling on TV in like 05 and 06. And he brought up a lot of guys from Reno, some guys from Vancouver, British Columbia, and some guys from Sacramento, just kind of in the region. And one of the people he brought up was Timothy Thatcher. I mean, this is a really good crew. We had Dr. Luther, kind of the veteran of the locker room. And Luther's a really nice guy. I'm really glad to see that he's, got a regular gig with AEW and coaching and things. And I think he's a great guy.
I do too.
I think he's in a great spot. And I'm sure he's doing great work. But Timothy, back then, was really influenced by William Regal.
Maybe that's why people think he's British, because
he did all the mannerisms. I think he did do the British accent. I mean, he did straight on.
That's why I think of him that way too. That's funny.
And it wasn't bad. I don't want to imply that it was bad. It's just, it's fascinating to see. It's like a band or an actor who sort of, starts initially impersonating or emulating someone that they idolize.
Right.
And then over time Timothy has evolved and become himself
Mm-hmm.
and is now considered one of the best wrestlers in the world. And, you know, I don't want to say that I didn't see it in him. He seemed really cool. He was very bright. He was very nice.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't know. Are people going to stay with it? Are
Right.
they going to go, get a better job and go a different career route? Are they going to settle down, have a family? And none of these things are bad. You
Right.
just don't know. And he's just an example of someone who stayed with it, emulated a good person, and eventually, became his own person and one of the best in the world. And it couldn't have happened to a better guy. So I'm always happy to see Timothy Thatcher. It feels, I don't know, I can't say that I knew it when,
Right.
or didn't know it when,
Uh-huh.
but it's cool that it happened this way.
Yeah,
It's part of
definitely.
your journey, and you got
Yeah.
like a really good, like, we always talk about like just wrestling being this big like part of our lives and how it's intertwined all the time and how we see these moments. And like Sam was like watching Hangman back when he was, in his John Deere hat, and that was like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's like, but you don't know, because
Right.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember Hangman Page one time was doing stuff at the Charlotte Fan Fest. One of the, I don't remember what year I went, but he was just kind of getting a name. I think he just started maybe with New Japan. And I think he just adopted the whole Hangman image. And I was thinking to myself, that's probably smart because, there's also Adam Cole. They sort of
Right.
have similar
so many
images,
Mhm.
similar builds. And it's like, you need to distinguish yourself.
Right.
And, again, I wouldn't have guessed the path he would have taken. It's kind of the same thing with Timothy Thatcher almost.
Right.
He didn't
Definitely.
emulate anybody, but I guess maybe Stan Hansen a little bit. But anyway, it's cool to see that there's room in one company and in the wrestling space for two guys, the Adam Cole, Adam Page. It's good that there's a big enough tent for everybody.
Yeah,
Each
definitely.
have their separate identities and have carved
Mhm.
their own place in wrestling.
Yeah, definitely. It's very cool to see. And so, yeah, and like you said, I watched Hangman for a long time. I think one of the only people that I've like seen and like known that they were gonna be good, and I wish they were in a better. I mean, of course, I wish they were in a better spot. It's probably Cedric Alexander. I saw him back in rec centers. I paid $5 to see him in the beginning, and then I got to see him on WrestleMania, which he actually tweeted the match out yesterday from when he did Mania. And that Cedric is somebody like when I saw him, I was like, my sister and I were like, that guy is something that there's something about him. He's very good, and he's when he ended up going to the Cruiserweight Classic, like we were like, oh, this is perfect for him. And then he got the fans got behind him, and they told Triple H, they were like, sign him, and that it turned into that whole thing. And so that was a really cool thing to see. So it's always cool to see people like in their early days, and like you said, they kind of, you never know if they're going to stick with it or what happens, and then you see them evolve. And then like you said, Timothy Thatcher has become one of the best in the world, and he's so highly regarded, and so it's great to see him. Don says Hangman could wear the fuck out of a pair of jeans, especially if they have butterflies on them.
I love
That's one of the things I love the most about Hangman. He does not. It works for him. On anybody else, it probably wouldn't fit. For Hangman,
he's gotten away with so many pairs of Hangman pants that no one else could. It's like Jericho can get away with the ridiculous he does with that, but Hangman, and the jean thing especially, like that's a unique. That I think gives him like a +5 to charisma.
Who would have guessed that a tough cowboy wrestler could sometimes dress like Dolly Parton?
Right, it works. It works for me.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
He's so great, and man, and after that match last week, the Texas Death Match, man. It was such a great match, and I'm so happy for him. Hopefully that's going to set him on a different path, because it seems like he kind of got not lost in the shuffle, but there was other things going on, and he wasn't a focal point. So I think he kind of reminded people.
But I think that's kind of the AEW booking. It's like
Yeah.
I think they want to keep people fresh, so it's like
Yeah,
they'll go
that's
away
true.
for a little while, or they'll kind of disappear and make a comeback. You know, and they kind of protect those people. It's like Hangman
true.
wasn't necessarily losing; he just wasn't the focal point, so you don't get
Right.
tired of him. At
Right.
least I think that's kind of their strategy.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you're right about that. And it's and I think he just reminded people, especially because he's in there with somebody like John Moxley, who we expect certain things from. But I was like, during Hangman's title run, he had 2 Texas Death matches, and he won both of his Texas Death matches. And so, I think last Sunday was probably his best Texas Death match that he had, and a lot of that I think is his opponent too, and because I'm a huge John Moxley fan as well. I'm a huge fan of both of them, so I had going into it, that was my prediction for match of the night, and maybe it's just for me because I love both of them, and for me it was that was my match of the night for sure. But
It was
Circle-
brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. Moxley came to Defy in Seattle. He's been a couple of times.
right.
When I was there and Moxley was there, it's fascinating to watch his process. I mean, he gets psyched up
I can imagine.
backstage
I can only
for
imagine.
for his matches. He's like listening to I think was it Offspring, something like that. And he's got it in his earbuds or his headphones, and he's just getting psyched up, doing like wall push-ups, doing push-ups, kind of stalking in the aisles as he gets closer and closer to bell time. And then when it's time to come through the curtain, he's like boom, because he's built up the energy and he's ready for that
That's so great.
explosion. Now he's an artist. That guy's great. He's got such a passion
Yeah.
for what he's doing.
Mhm.
You can tell he loves this shit.
Yeah.
He does live for it.
He
A lot
absolutely
of people
does.
are like, oh, I love it. But no, he,
Yeah.
That's right. You work backstage or not back. Yeah, you do backstage interviewing at Defy, right?
Yeah.
Are you still doing that?
no, I was
once in a
getting a
while.
little tired.
Yeah,
I
too
was
much.
getting tired. It
It's
was
a
kinda
lot. That's a lot.
wearing me
That's
out.
Yeah.
a lot.
But Defy's cool.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of Defy shows. I actually watched I watched the show that the match that he had with Filthy Tom last year. And that was
brilliant.
that was definitely one of my favorite matches last year. I just because I
brilliant.
love Tom Lawler too, and they just bring something out in each other.
That guy, he understands wrestling. He totally gets it.
Yeah.
A lot of times, modern era fighters aren't as bad, but in the early 2000s, a lot of the UFC guys didn't understand the psychology of wrestling
Mhm.
or losing, things like that. Now, Tom Lawler totally gets it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are ginormous fans of Tom Lawler.
We are. We love
Mr.
Tom.
Paul Fontaine surprised me on a wrap-up show of WrestleMania last year and had Filthy Tom join our cast. So I got to ask him a question.
Yeah. I was disappointed. I was watching the Braves were having it was opening day and I was watching their game. So I was like, I'll just catch another show. And then they told me that Filthy Tom was on there. And I was like, no.
Tom's a nice man. He's a really cool guy.
It's so good to hear. I love that stuff. It's always good to hear.
Yes, definitely.
So,
but yeah, well, I'm going to circle back to ROH more real quick just before we go. So before we move on to the next thing. So there were 2 women's matches again. Surprise, surprise. It can happen back to back, 2 weeks in a row. I don't know if they filmed any more women's matches because I saw like when the initial set of matches came out of like what was filmed a couple of weeks ago. I believe I only remembered seeing like 3 or 4 matches. So I don't know what next week's going to look like. I don't know if they stacked them all, but they did have the women main event. Athena and Willow had a phenomenal
I'm
match.
looking forward. I'm gonna have to go check that out.
I recommend it. They got 15 minutes, and they were. And then Athena's just been on this other level since that Jody Threat match, and she's killing it. And Willow was just right there with her, toe to toe. It was a really great match. It was probably my favorite match from last week. It was just, and then on that same show was Billy Starks versus Trisha Dora, which where Mel and I are both huge fans of Trish and Billy, and so that was a really good match, and I love that. So they didn't really set up Athena they haven't set up Athena's next her next opponent yet, but they kind of have filled in some stuff. I think let's see, because Wheeler Yuta's next opponent is going to be Clark Connors. Brad said that Athena versus Willow was the best non-stardom women's match I've seen this year. That is very high praise. That's really high praise. And that was, I thought it was a phenomenal match, and I'm really happy for both of them. And then I will say real quickly, Impact, the Mickie James and Giselle main evented. They got 17 minutes. There were 2 matches on that one. Jordan Grace, she won in like 2.5 minutes. So I guess they had to give all that time at the end. And then I didn't see NXT, but I do know that Miko and Roxanne closed out NXT. I think they got 11 minutes. The women main event at Rampage for the 3rd time this year, and they got 10 minutes. So that was nice to see. Hopefully that's a trend that we'll see some more of. But yeah, so Ring of Honor I have really enjoyed these first 2 episodes. That flows really well. I still have not had any streaming issues. So it seems like they're building some good stuff there, especially even though now that AEW apparently is getting yet another TV show. I don't know why Ring of Honor is not on TV. I think that could have been I don't make the decisions, obviously. Window Warner, I'm sure they have their reasons, but that could have been Ring of Honor is doing some good stuff, and I feel like I wish they were on TV so more people would see them. But well, maybe one day.
Jim, do you want to weigh in there?
I just think it's cool. I mean, it's a sort of like a developmental system. It's also a place where people can go to kind of again freshen up, maybe not seen by quite so many eyes. You compare what Tony Khan is doing with ROH versus when WWE had the ECW brand.
Right.
This is more true to the original ROH than WWE ECW was.
Right.
Yeah.
Good point.
Circling back to Jordan Grace, considering the kind of wrestler Jordan Grace is supposed to be, 2 minutes, it's a dominant win. It's a statement.
That is true. It is. That is true.
She's a powerhouse.
She is. She's incredible.
Like sort of like a Goldberg kind of a thing. So I don't know that that's a big deal, but Billy Starks, she wrestled against my girl Debbie Malenko, so I'm not a fan.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You can't.
Understandable.
Right.
I got
totally understand.
Completely understand. I got
to roll with your faction, man. You got to.
Yeah, Debbie's my girl, so
yeah.
I understand. Totally get it.
That Space Jesus just has some amazing moves on her.
Yeah, she made her MLW debut. Her second one.
What was that?
This interview is over.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, Jim and I were friends for 5 seconds.
Anyway, Sam, it's like I was saying.
That's awesome.
I guess we should move on to the next subject then. We'll switch gears back to Revolution since we are coming off of the pay-per-view, so we're kind of seeing.
Oh yeah, it's in the description. I guess we should talk about it a little.
Yeah, well, and it does. It was the first pay-per-view of the year for AEW, so it kind of wrapped up a few things and started a few things. Continued like obviously the big women's storyline. That poor storyline is struggling, but it got a little bit of I guess it got revived a little bit with the Ruby turn, which we all kind of saw coming, I think. And so they did have that, and that of course led to the Ruby promo, which Jim discussed on his show yesterday, and definitely got people talking. And it
fat, neck-bearded, mouth-breathing trolls.
Thank you for having that.
Yeah, I'm so glad you had that ready, because it reminded me when you were going through it yesterday, and it was like it reminded me of Two Truths and a Lie, because that's kind of what her promo was. She started because I was listening to it when she was telling. I was like, well, yeah, she's not wrong about that, and then I was like, Well, that's a little debatable. So yeah, she did have like, because I think what was because I know she brought up the Chris Statlander thing, but there was something before Chris Statlander, right? That she brought up. Why am I blanking on what it was that she said? I just
Was it
listened.
Britt?
May have been. Yes,
Was
I think
this?
so.
My very first title match here
Yes.
in AEW was at Grand Slam against Britt Baker. And when she beat me, these people were thrilled.
Well, so they're a truth. And then the second truth was the part about being booed out of the building when she beat Chris Statlander. But I did notice she did not bring up that Jade is the one who beat her to become the TBS champion. That is a topic that Mel and I have talked about quite a few times, that potential. Well, now with this situation, I don't know if that's the route they'll go. And I know they've been kind of waiting on Chris Statlander, and it seems like if the reports are to be believed, she's not quite ready. So we've talked about maybe the fact of having Ruby be the one to dethrone Jade, because Jade beat her to become champion. So I think that's a nice story. But I noticed that she did not bring that up at all in her promo. But then she had her truths, and then I guess the lie part is not necessarily a lie. I guess it's just a matter of opinion on whether or not people were begging for Saraya to come out of retirement. I don't think people really knew that Saraya could come out of retirement, so I don't know that they were exactly begging for it. But
I didn't beg for it, but I don't know. Maybe someone begged for it at some point. I mean,
like maybe her own fans, I'm sure, which, but nobody knew that she was even in the, that she could even potentially.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, there's Edge, and of course, everybody, and then Stone Cold had his match at WrestleMania and things like that. But, nobody knew if Saraya would ever be cleared again. So I don't know that they were exactly clamoring for her to come back when we weren't even sure that she was cleared. So I thought that was an interesting. I mean, it was a good promo. Like I was glad to see that from Ruby. I think she needed that to kind of just show what she can do on the microphone, because she hasn't done a whole lot of it. It would be really interesting to see her doing a promo with Britt Baker. I think would be some interesting TV, especially now that Britt's kind of in the baby face. I mean, not kind of, I guess she is the baby face now. So she's got to, and especially the way they were talking about like how you have to, you can't build off of a broken foundation. You have to demolish it and start all over, which I was like, I don't think Britt's going to take too kindly to that, because she, she's carried the division on her back from early days. And so I thought that was it was a good promo, I thought, but there were definitely some interesting things. So what do you think about
I
it?
thought she was great.
Yeah.
I think one of the things when I first started watching wrestling, what I always liked was the extemporaneous aspect of it, where you work within the space and you react to the fans.
Mm-hmm.
And she was reacting to the fans.
Agreed.
She didn't just come out and read her memorized lines word for word and just get through it. She knew where to pause. She knew where to kind of stick it to the fans.
Mm-hmm.
So she was really good, I think, in that interactivity.
Yeah.
I was most impressed by that.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said yesterday, I don't know if it's because she's on the smaller side or Vince didn't get her look or what it was. I mean, she's not like the greatest wrestler ever, but she's not terrible.
Mm-mm.
And, I don't know. I'm glad she's getting this opportunity to really kind of do her thing. And I think that, a heel Ruby is going to be a lot of fun.
I think so too. Yeah, I wasn't really sure how that would go, because I like Ruby a lot, and so I kind of liked her in the role that we've seen her. But that, definitely opened my eyes to like what she's capable of doing.
I don't know that she's going to win a lot,
right?
But it'll be fun.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think about it, Mel?
I was on the fence until I heard you guys we heard the breakdown a little bit. Like yesterday was. And I decided that
yesterday was really helpful.
Because you did actually break the promo down. Like, it was hilarious, but it was also very informative. Like,
thank you.
We got to read this comment. The only thing I beg for as a fan is attention from Tanahashi and his Instagram comments. You know what? I mean, Tanahashi. He is the ace of the universe, and we all love him to death.
Yes.
I just want hair tips.
Right.
Me too. Oh my gosh.
He's giving them all to Shooter, apparently.
Yeah.
It's perfect. That guy is going to be the IWGP champion.
I cannot wait.
One day. He's going to be the champion one day. He will be. I mean, it's maybe they should like really bet on him and just go for it at some point.
I think they will.
The future is very bright for New Japan.
Yes,
I am
absolutely.
so happy. I mean, we're not going to get into. We got Brad's comment here.
Yes.
This was one of the better You People promos, but a better reason would have been Britt has been bad. Listen to me from day one. Why would I help her? Yeah.
Like, I agree. They do lean into kind of the what I call the WWE-ness of things, which is because that's what they know. And that's the system they came up in. So they do kind of lean into, I mean, of course it's wrestling trope in general, but it's very heavily WWE trope. And because it's what we've seen for, decades now, and that's what they came up in. And so I feel like, especially Saraya leans into that a lot. She leans into, to that type of stuff. And so it seems like Ruby is kind of doing that as well, leaning into the WWE stuff.
It's weird how much Saraya does lean into it, considering she's a carny and came from the whole.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like she can't break herself out of. I mean, and maybe with time, the more she does it, the more she'll maybe find her own footing outside of that. But maybe it's just what she knows, and so she just goes to it because it's what she did for so long. And it's TV versus so maybe that's part of it too. But yeah, that is a really interesting point. That
it would be fun to see her go old school carny, like Regal, like what we were talking about, version of her, as opposed to what she's doing right now, and not do like just shed the superstar, like the sports entertainment thing entirely, and go do like British strong style, kind of old school, like World of Sport-esque, like, something, I don't know, a little more like that. That might be fun for her, actually, because she could lean into being a carny, especially in AEW, where they're kind of making fun of kayfabe all the time.
Right.
So
that's the thing. Very quickly, I don't understand why the Jericho Appreciation Society doesn't do more sports entertainment stuff.
Yeah.
They should try to do all the WWE tropes and fail.
They should slap the thigh.
They should be doing.
Slap the thigh.
That's what I think.
I would probably appreciate the Jericho Appreciation Society a lot more if they did that.
That would be so.
Like they're just heels.
Yeah.
Tony Khan needs to give them some sort of 3D graphic when they come out.
Oh my God.
Yes, I love it.
They need to try to do contract signings like all the time. All of these things, and then have the AEW wrestlers outsmart them, because we've all seen it a million times. Right. I don't understand.
I guess, and now that you've, I would enjoy that so much.
That would be the best thing for them.
And then it kind of goes back to the Ricky Starks thing, with the way Ricky Starks tricked Jericho into signing a contract to keep JAS. That is kind of a sports entertainment move that they did. So maybe they'll stick with it. So Don says he'd really get behind the trio of heels if they started cutting promos saying they miss the WWE universe. I, for one, am very against that, because I don't like, that's kind of what they were doing in the beginning, and it didn't go over well. It didn't work, because
it'd be funny if, the Jericho Appreciation Society called their fans the AEW universe or something stupid.
Well, they did the Galaxy, right?
Galaxy.
Just cringy stuff. I don't understand why they don't play off all that stuff.
Yeah, they really should, but
they should make it as
funhouse mirror.
Man, now I need
everything up.
I need this 3D graphic now.
They should bring puppets to the
Just all that stuff.
Oh, that
All
would be
kinds of.
great.
You know what?
That would definitely
We give it.
reinvigorate
See,
them
more
too.
free advice from us here at Power Bombshells. Being an honorary broad, there you go. We give out good ideas all the time. So this is I'm so into that idea. I want that.
Yeah.
I need it. I need it in my.
That is, yeah. Now that it's on my radar, I need it to happen. And it would make them, because they're, I guess not. I don't want to say stale, but they've kind of like it's not. They need to do something, I guess, to get that, like to not get attention, but I think that would be to kind of take them to the next level, so they're
Shake
not kind of
things up.
fizzled. Yeah, so they're not so fizzled out. That now I need all this to happen.
Okay.
Now I need all of it to happen. Man.
All right.
Yes. So also within the so one of the things that we talked about last week is how Jade did not have a match.
Yeah.
On the
Jade
pay-per-view.
was.
They didn't have one even on the pre-show because they stuck with the one match on the pre-show, which is a new thing for them. They have always filled it with 4 matches, but they didn't do that this time. So Jade was left off. She was left off the show altogether. And we did see a promo with her. She said that she didn't have she's ran through everybody in America on the AEW roster. Going to Canada next week. Give me somebody. So I wondered originally, the way she worded it, she left it open to the possibility, because everybody's like, oh, who's a free agent in Canada and all this stuff. But then I was talking to some people in one of the Slacks about it, and we were like, she kind of left it open where it could potentially be the Bunny, because Allie is from Canada. And the way she worded it was that she has ran through them in the US. So we're like, well, she's Canadian. Maybe that's who she, like, I guess we didn't want to be, especially since Mercedes did not work out and they ended up not having that. I was like, what if they don't bring somebody in? So maybe it's Allie. And then, we were talking about it, and then I saw a lot of people were wanting it to be Lufisto. But then they made the point that, would they bring in a legacy person like Lufisto to lose to Jade? Then there's some other names came up, and then it seems kind of obvious now with some rumors that have picked up who her opponent's going to be. Even though actually RJ City said he thought it was going to be Anne Murray. was his guess. that was RJ's guess on Twitter.
Brian Adams.
Sure, why not?
I don't know other famous people. Maybe he'll fight Paul Fontaine, or maybe she'll fight Paul Fontaine.
Maybe it is. It's Paul, the ROH historian.
She just couldn't take it, and she's like, I'm going after this guy.
Yeah.
It's like,
so Mel, do you have any guesses on who you think it is?
I really don't.
Okay.
I mean, it seems logical, and I think even Dave said that Sat was ready, so maybe she is.
Oh, that's the opposite of what was the report for the week before, not from Dave, but said that she's not ready.
I thought this week on one of the observers
maybe information has changed since I heard, but like
who knows? I mean, it seems obvious, and sometimes the most obvious answer is the answer in wrestling, and it's not some big swerve, but I just don't. But she's not from Canada.
No, she's not.
They just
Jim, do you have
fighting?
any? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I don't know anything. Let me just state that.
Okay. Yeah, you have to.
If I were in charge and I had a wish list,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, if it's got to be somebody Canadian, and it's going to be a big show, I would love it to be Taya Valkyrie.
That's my prediction too. It's also Brad and it's Brad's prediction as well. Taya's we found out the day after.
Statuesque.
Taya's
people would know who she is. Physically, it would look like she could go toe to toe with Jade.
True. Very
I love
true.
Taya. I used to, but she was one of the highlights of my Impact watching time. So
yeah, Taya's my guess too, particularly because her Impact contract, she left Impact. Thursday was her last day, or was her last on air day. She says she doesn't know where she's going. She's addressed the rumors. She said, of course, people are talking, and she's glad that people are talking about her.
Definitely, she should be.
She's also MLW's first featherweight champion. So she's got that going on. She's also competing in NWA as well. So it would be nice to see Taya pop up in AEW. And I think, like you said,
I'm
she
into that.
is somebody that looks like they could go toe to toe with Jade, could make you think that she could be the one. She could be the one in that. What is she, 53-1 or 53-0, I believe is what her record's at right now. So she looks like she could be the one in that record. So I hope it's Taya. I think it would be great. I think she would be a really cool.
Well, and not only that, I think given Taya's level of experience, I think that she could probably really help Jade. Step up her game.
Agreed.
I think, Jade isn't the smoothest wrestler, but I think it works for her.
It does.
And it looks like she's manhandling and forcing her will on her opponent sometimes.
Yeah. And she's I saw recently that I think it was Bryan Danielson was saying, like, she has said that she wants to go to Japan and she wants to learn there. And he was like, I think that would be a great thing for her. And if she's able to, like, they should do it. And I was like, well, they've got the relationship with DDT, who has obviously TJPW. I was like, I hope that's something, if that's something she really wants, because it sounds like she wants to improve. She wants to get better. She wants to be.
If she wanted to get better, I would send her to Stardom.
Yep.
Yes, I would.
100%.
Everybody who goes into Stardom comes out better.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed.
Yes.
And that would be huge for her.
Jim, you and Fumi did a. Oh, we've got it real quick. I was hoping for Celine Dion.
I thought Celine Dion too, and then I was like, she's having some health issues, so that might not be so fair to her. Jade would probably demolish her in even less time.
No one wants to see that.
No.
Jade and Saki Akai, tag team is a must. Yeah. See, I'm sorry, I'm butchering the name now. I feel like such a jerk because I actually do know how to pronounce things, but not today apparently. So, but yes, anybody in the Stardom, like on the Stardom roster, they were great on the Muda show. The gals that were right. Just love that. I mean, I'm doing Wrestle Universe. I've only seen the TJPW, so I haven't seen the Stardom as much. But
Don says he loves TJPW. They're a hugely underrated promotion. I haven't seen a whole lot of it. That's the one I really need to get more into Japanese women's wrestling, but I have heard really great things. And what I have seen is really good. I'm really looking forward to the show that they're doing over at the end, the collective weekend. TJPW is doing a show that I really want to see.
If it is Taya, I think given Taya's tall, she's statuesque, Jade is statuesque. Taya can teach Jade how to wrestle more like a bigger, because they have the same
that tall, is very true. Yeah,
statuesque body type. She can teach her to wrestle like a giant.
Right. Man, can you imagine if Jade had that in her arsenal?
Well, she's like got the charisma and the star power and the look and the whole thing else.
Yeah, she's got and I think she's definitely improved a lot in the last 2 years, and I think working with Danielson has been a huge help for her, and I think she has the willingness to learn and to do these things, and saying that she wants to go to Japan tells me that she is serious about getting better, and it may take her some time, but she can do it. And I think, like you said, now, like wrestling with Taya could teach her so much about using her body and things like that, and that could be huge for her. So now I really want it to be Taya. And if it's not Taya next week, I hope it's Taya soon.
Stupid Tony Khan. Give it Taya.
Yeah, get it. Make it happen. So,
she's so great. She can talk. She can do comedy. She can be a brute. She's got a great look.
She does.
You know, no, she's not 25, but still.
She's great.
I don't understand. I mean, she's had a great career, but
Right.
I don't get what happened in WWE. But
Me
whatever.
either. Me
I
either.
don't-
I did see. I was reading an interview with her yesterday, and obviously she used that when she was in WWE, she was Frankie Monet, and so she
Yeah.
was saying like she would love to wrestle Mercedes Monet, and she
That'd
said
be
especially
great.
because. Yeah, and she's like, every time we've talked, she's like, we've talked about wrestling in Mexico and doing that training and stuff like that. And she was like, and she was like, that's somebody I would love to cross paths with and to have a match. And I was like, and she was like, I'd love to face her somewhere someday. And I was like, that I think that would be another really great one.
Having someone like Taya even challenge and lose for the IWGP Women's title would be a big deal. A lot of people were questioning the genesis of the women's title.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that New Japan and Katani have turned out to be geniuses with this idea. Talk about perfect timing.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now,
Timing has been incredible.
it's really smart.
Yeah,
Really smart.
it was. Yes. And did I
It's, I would say that Forbidden Door they saw that there was a demand for it. They actually added that Forbidden Door match. It didn't get, I wish that more people had stayed in their seats for it. Like it was one of those moments, but this is something that we see. I mean, this is what it is. And I'm beyond used sort of in enough big wrestling shows now to I get it. But it was on the show and that was a big deal. And I feel like that started to kickstart like the generation of trying to get, and they realized there was a market for it in North America. Like we want the women's matches on the shows.
Right.
So it's like,
No, it's smart. It shows that
awesome.
they want to be a global brand.
Yep. We're going into we're coming back around to like 2018 New Japan. Remember 2017, 2018 New Japan?
Great. That's when I really started getting into it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, exactly. I subscribed to New Japan Pro Wrestling, like the New Japan World, because of it was the 2 out of 3 falls, no time limit, Kenny Omega Okada match was like, I'm signing up for this.
Yeah, I think it was funny.
And then that was when I watched my first G1. And I mean, it was just, I became like, we were going to actually, stupid COVID, we were going to go to Japan for the G1 because they moved it to, remember they had the Olympics in the summer.
Right.
So they moved it to the fall and we were going to go in the fall because the prices we figured would drop for Japan to just like being in the budget. Yeah. And then we could go to the G1. It was perfect. And it's like we like to really do a big trip for our anniversary, which is in October. So it would have been like right there. And we have a friend that was going to meet us there. We were all going to go to Japan together for the first time and do all the shows that we could possibly cram into it. And it's like, no, you're not. You're getting locked in your house for the rest of it. But at least we had COVID era wrestling. It's nice to see New Japan back on the level. This year's Forbidden Door, I think. Last year was amazing. I think this year's going to be off the hook because it's heating up.
Right. You got to top it. Yeah. That too.
Yeah. I started catching up on cup matches. I went through and just
Jim hasn't watched any yet.
No, I'm not going to go. Yeah, I won't go into it. Just to say, last night I watched the cup matches only. I was fast because I was watching on my iPad, so I was just watching. I was fast forwarding just to the cup matches so I could get caught up. So I'm done with round 1. I finished round 1 last night, and then I was like, then we'll have to get into round 2. But there's been some really great stuff that's happened so far. And I was like, and when we saw it with Wrestle Kingdom even, and the shows since, and New Year Dash was great. And so, yeah, it seems like they're firing on all cylinders again, which is really nice to see because New Japan is great. And they have a lot of great talent over there. So I'm glad to see that.
My favorite wrestling.
Yes.
It makes me feel so good. I just like click it on and I hear Chris Charlton and Kevin Kelly and they make me feel
well, and then they've had because Chris Charlton was on the
Jeff
first
Cobb
Jeff Cobb on commentary, which I forgot how funny he is because he's done commentary before. And I love Jeff Cobb on commentary. I hope they put him up there as much as they can.
I love Jeff Cobb, period. End
It was
of
the
sentence.
same.
Just everything.
Me too. So Brad says the undercard matches on the cup shows have been great too. So many stories going on. I knew that was going to happen. I was like, I'm going to end up missing good stuff, but I was like, there's so much wrestling, and then I've got to prepare for the collective at the end of the month. So I was like, I'm just going to have to stick. I knew that was going to happen. I was like, I'm going to end up missing some good stuff because I'm trying to get through these.
You can't keep
matches
up anymore. There's no possible.
and that's why I was like, if I could watch wrestling full time, then I still wouldn't be able to watch everything. There's so much. What a great problem to have.
I think
we are very spoiled.
Very spoiled.
We're very spoiled to have access to all this great wrestling all over the place, which is why I never have time for Stardom and TJPW, because I'm trying to watch other things, and I still want to watch them too. So I'm like, I've got to quit taking on so much stuff. Let's see here. What else is going on in AEW? So yeah, we had
QT was QT Marshall is back on Sam's TV, and I could hear her, even though I wasn't in Charlotte, I could hear her from Detroit on my couch. I looked at my husband and said, "Uh-oh, Sam's pissed."
Just was like, you probably heard a very loud sigh. And I knew it because they've been promoting the QTV, and I was like, I knew QT was going to be involved.
And you were kind of shaking your fist at the heavens in my head.
I was shaking my head at the wrestling goddesses.
Yes.
Why did you bring him back? Now I have QT and Jeff Jarrett on my TV, which I don't. QT is very good at what he does. He just frustrates me. And so it was interesting to see. I wasn't crazy, and not just because of QT. I was not crazy about the way they went about having Hobbs win his first title. But I get it. I just wish it had been a little bit different. But, Hobbs has the title, and I guess that's the most important thing. It feels like Wardlow. I mean, I guess they're going to set Wardlow up for bigger things. Potentially whenever when they reignite the feud with MJF. I don't know how quickly. I didn't think it would be this soon, maybe it still isn't going to be this soon, but I thought Wardlow was going to thought they were going to rebuild him back up, because he was super hot, and then they didn't do anything with him, and he kind of cooled off a little bit, and I thought maybe they were putting the TNT title back on him to kind of rebuild that up to get him ready for whenever he and MJF eventually feud again. But apparently that's not the way they're going about it a different way than we thought.
We got some disagreement here, and it's not mean. All right. So Don says, oh, you clicked it.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
You go. All right.
So Don says blasphemy. Jeff Jarrett is the ace of AEW. All
right. Well,
I don't listen. I don't hate Jeff Jarrett. I just feel like other people could be in that position.
All right. Well, we need to hear what Jim thinks about this, I think.
Please do.
When Jeff came on AEW, I was groaning.
Same.
Every now and then, I'll listen to My World with Jeff and Conrad. They'll talk about TNA and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff seems very personable.
Oh, yeah.
Very likable.
Mm-hmm.
You can see why he's successful.
Mm-hmm.
If I was in charge, I'd ask him, if you're so smart, Jeff, and you sound very smart, why was there so much stupid shit on Impact at TNA?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that is a very good question that needs answers.
Why? How can you sound so... There's just this dichotomy between Jeff sounding intelligent and nice and personable and all this stupid shit that happened over here for a decade.
Yeah. Yes.
So when he came on my TV with AEW, I was just like, this is...
Yeah.
But Jeff has been killing it. He has been great. Okay. I can't deny it.
So no, he's definitely doing a good job of annoying me.
He's not doing the creative.
Yeah,
I am. Former, I think he's been outstanding.
Yeah.
He and Jay Lethal have been outstanding. I would have put the tag team titles on them, but I guess you give it to the young guys like the Guns, and that's fine too.
Well, because presumably they want FTR to beat the Guns.
Yeah, because they can't have. I think it's they can't have FTR beat the Acclaimed, and so that was because I think that's
they
their.
did.
I
guess
way,
a couple.
I think that's their way around it. I don't agree with the Guns being champions right now because I don't think people care one way or another about them. And so it does, yeah. It gives them, and I've said it before. Like the Guns are a solid team, and they have improved a lot. And they're good at what they do, like what their position is in the company. I don't think this was the time to put the titles on them, but I do think it's to get around. It's to get around so FTR can do them. And Brad said Sanjay Dutt is the glue for that team. He's the greatest thing going right now, and his pencil. Yes, that's Brad. That's what I was just about to say. My favorite, for me, the best part of that foursome is Sanjay. Sanjay is incredible in his role. He knows what his role is, and he does it masterfully. And I really, and I've always liked Sanjay, but this is just, it's perfect for him, and he does it so well. And just, yeah, and then he's so ridiculous. Like he had the tie that looked like a pencil, and he had the shirt with their faces on the back of it. Like he's just so. He's so good at it. I really enjoy what he's doing. He's definitely
and there's getting it's sort of like QT Marshall, sort of like what we talked about. I think working with Jeff, working with Sanjay, working with Jay Lethal can only make the Acclaim better and make all those. There's a lot of younger wrestlers in the tag team division.
Yeah.
So you get those experienced people in there, and you can make the Acclaimed even better.
Right. And I think AEW has been really good at that, about pairing younger people with veterans. Like we've seen, obviously we've seen Matt Hardy with Private Party, and now Ethan Case is kind of involved in it. And I love that story. That's one of the, especially because I do watch Elevation and Dark. So it is nice to have that storyline. And now it's spilled over to TV finally. And you see like all that stuff, and they're real. And they had Matt Sydal with Top Flight for a little while. They've had, they're really good at pairing, about using, they use the veterans they have to their advantage, which I think is really great. And it feels like because they're definitely setting them up for success. And I think, and even like I was listening to an interview, Sanjay Dutt was on Renee's podcast, and he was talking about Satnam and working with him, and he said that Big Show has taken a liking to him. A lot of it is because they are very similar in size and things like that. And Sanjay was like, I told him, you listen to everything he tells you. Whatever he says, you listen, take notes. He's like, I can only do so. He's like, we can relate because of, we have similar backgrounds from where we're from and things like that. He was like, but Big Show, he's like, there's only a few really big guys in wrestling. And so Paul, and to have the success that Paul White has had. And he was like, so listen to everything he says. If he pulls you aside and wants to talk, he was like, you make time. He's like, drop whatever you're doing and listen to everything Paul says and then absorb it. And he was like, and then if you need me to help kind of explain what he's saying, we'll figure it out together and make this work. And so I think, that's a really cool thing to see, that, it seems like basically for everybody, there's someone that they can go to talk to and to learn these things and to pick their brains, which I think is a phenomenal thing that AEW has accessible to the wrestlers. I think is great. But yeah, so back to the thing with the way Hobbs won. So I'm glad Hobbs has the title, and I'm glad that hopefully the Book of Hobbs will just be that the little prop was not doing much for him. So I'm interested to see, because QT says that they'll explain more next week about like what they're doing. So I'm interested to see if it's just the two of them, or if their QTV sounds like it's more than just Hobbs, that maybe they're going to bring some other people, maybe because it sounds like, because the factory, I guess, is not a thing anymore. I guess they're done. And it's interesting.
You confirm. No.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. That was a joke. Do not start rumors.
I thought for a half a second on Wednesday, for a half a second, I thought when that Bullet Club popped
just
up,
like everyone did,
and I was like, oh my God, it's Jay. And then I immediately said to my sister, is it Juice or is it Kenta? because I was like, it's not going to be I did for a split second think it was Jay. And I was like, wait, nope. Let me
all of us
come back to reality real quick. And so
anybody who knows anything about that sort of thing had that for a minute, at least for like a flash. It was like,
yeah, I definitely like I didn't even, I had my laptop because it was covering it for SC Scoops, and I don't know why I shut my laptop because I just was like, oh my god, it's Jay, and then I was like, wait a minute, and I was like, no, it's gonna be Juice or Kenta, and it was Juice, which I am happy. I think Juice versus Ricky Starks is gonna be great, but I love Juice Robinson, so, and I'm a huge Ricky Starks fan, so I saw some people complaining about it that it was Juice, but I was like, Juice is good. I like Juice. I'm glad to see him there. And we'll have this comment that Don says not only should Jeff Jarrett win the tag team titles, he'd have him win the G1. That would be quite. What if they sent Jeff Jarrett instead of Danielson to the G1?
That would be tough. That is a haul for a guy his age.
Yeah.
That's a tour. That's not.
Yeah, not for the faint of heart.
Weak.
No. But I guess if anybody could pull it off, it probably could be Jeff Jarrett.
He'd find a way.
He would. He would. Him and his guitar and Sanjay.
I'd like to see Jeff Jarrett take on Toru Yano.
Oh, yeah. That has to happen.
That'd be hilarious.
Maybe that'll be the Forbidden Door match. Maybe I still want my Forbidden Door match of Toru Yano versus Brandon Cutler and the Cold Spray War. I want, because Cutler always has the cold spray. Toru Yano was carrying around. It was the disinfectant he always had, and I was like, and that's what I wanted last year. That's the match. Don said, let's not forget Double J was in Bullet Club too. I mean, who hasn't been? I mean, Scott Norton is, and they put him in it like two years ago or was it last? No, was that last
even
year?
WWE is inaugurating people into the Bullet Club because they at least said the words the other week when I was watching. I can't remember which one's which anymore. They all kind of blend together. It's you know what, SmackDown is better than Raw, but if it wasn't for me, like I said, I've said this many times on the show, is like, if it wasn't for the fact that I'm really trying to commit to this project because I want to like take this journey one more time and see where it's gonna go, and so and Jim, because you don't know that I'm doing this, I'm kind of doing the project. We're doing a show on the Fight Game Media Network called The Road, and it's The Road to WrestleMania, and we've covered everything from Rumble to Mania, and we're kind of doing like a weekly thing and where we all check in, and it's rotating hosts from all the network here. And so I was like, I'm going to commit to watching WWE for this period of time, just because I think it's good to like, I haven't watched it in a long time. I did want to get more like time on the network a little bit with some other hosts because I love them and it's the only time I get to talk to them. And but it's like I'm like it's very different, and I'm seeing all these different wrestling promotions, and I'm seeing why people are so indoctrinated with WWE culture in North America. Mm-hmm. But the product, I don't care. Triple H, Vince McMahon, it ain't shit, man. It's you see that Muda show or even Revolution, which of course, no build like usual, huge awesome show. I mean, not like the greatest AEW pay-per-view in the history, but
it was a good
show. I don't feel like I got robbed of my $50. So which I'm always happy about. They continue to have equity with me. I'm good with AEW, but
yeah. I had been kind of tuning in some for like the Bloodline stuff, but then even since
you have to watch though.
I haven't really tuned in the last couple of weeks. I've been seeing like just stuff on Twitter. I did see the turn. I did see Jay turn on Sammy, and I was like, you couldn't just give me till Friday. Like you had to do it right then, which is why it worked. I mean, I know They got me. I knew that swerve was coming. I just didn't know it was coming right there. And then looking back and rewatching it, I was like, oh, you idiot. You've watched WWE for years. You should have seen it. It was coming right then. And so I did see that, but then I haven't watched it. So I did see the end. I saw a clip of the ending of Friday's episode of SmackDown, but yeah, the Bloodline stuff is definitely the thing that keeps my interest. But yeah, even just watching it here and there, it reminds me of why I gave up watching it regularly, because it's not for me. As much as I love some of those people, I can't. There's so much other things I could be watching or watching things off my DVR that are not wrestling, because sometimes I do that.
What?
Occasionally. I do want to. So I want to mention this on Rampage. They did. They were doing some backstage promo stuff, and they did one from Darby Allin. And so Darby was saying, because he hasn't been on TV for a few weeks. He's probably been recovering from his tours in Japan that he'd been doing. But he was talking about how, he is who he is 7 days a week. He was like, what's the point of becoming a world champion and having all these accolades if at the end of the day, you're not really you? He was like, I don't believe anybody here. I guess he was just getting to the fact that he thinks they're all fake. And he was saying, I guess my problem is I'm a little too real and just a little too crazy. I said I wanted to go out in a blaze of glory, and I meant every word of that. There's a few things before my time in AEW is done that I want to accomplish. Maybe next week I'll make that a little bit more clear, which I thought was kind of interesting, because I was like, is he think he's not going to be wrestling much longer? I was like, I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. But then, like right after that, they did another promo, and this time it was Jungle Boy. And so then Jungle Boy, sorry, got a spam call. Sorry about that. So Jungle Boy is talking about Christian Cage and how he's closing that chapter. And, he said Christian did teach him how to pick his shot. And he was talking about how momentum is very hard to come by. Once you have it, it's even harder to keep. And he said, and I'll be damned if I, did all of this for nothing. He said, so every man with a championship around your waist, I'm watching you very closely, and I'll be seeing one of you very soon. And then I don't know if the only reason I think this may be related to the other two things is just because of some conversation I saw on Twitter. It may not mean anything. I could just be reading into it. But before Rampage even started, MJF tweeted an image from Revolution. It's where he's sitting outside of the ring and he has the oxygen tank. And he said the devil is in the details. But some people are wondering if we got these promos from Darby and Jungle Boy because it's going to set up a fatal four-way between the four male pillars. So I don't know if that's where it's going, but I'm very intrigued by that possibility. And then MJF's tweet before, so we've heard from three of the four pillars, and then Sammy Guevara opened Rampage. And so Sammy is the when MJF said there are four pillars in AEW, the four male pillars are himself, Darby, Jungle Boy, and Sammy Guevara. And Sammy Guevara opened the show. So I don't know that that's necessarily where it's going, but I wanted to bring it up just because I think that's a really cool idea. If that is something that they're doing, I'd like to see, because, we've talked about Jungle Boy when he finished the feud with Christian a few back in December. Well, we thought the feud was over for now. Jungle Boy seemed primed to kind of go into the next part of who he is. And then they didn't really do that. And so now that he has beaten Christian, he has got to move on to the next thing. You and I have talked about how the feud we really want is to see him with MJF, because he and MJF have had really great matches. They have even more experience under their belt. MJF has a title now. It's the thing that he loves more than anything. I would like to see that story play out. But now it seems that maybe Darby wants to kind of get involved in that. And so I think that's an interesting thing that they could potentially be doing. And with Sammy, even because Sammy's kind of gotten lost in the shuffle with JAS. I mean, some people have talked about how it seems like Sammy only wrestles for the viral moments, that he doesn't wrestle to have the matches he had been having before. Because, we've seen I think the last match of his that really stands out to me was last year at Beach Break when he wrestled Cody Rhodes in the ladder match. I think that was, his last match that really stands out, just match wise, not even just because he did the cool ladder. He did the cutter from the top of the ladder, which obviously still stands out because I'm talking about it a year later. But it seems like Sammy has kind of, because he's in the JAS thing. I mean, I know he's got the story with Garcia, where he's like the stuff that they're doing, but it just feels like he's kind of, it seems like besides MJF, they've all kind of gotten in this holding pattern. And so, but Revolution also did kind of seem like they're steering in, they're focusing on some of the younger wrestlers. And so is that a story that they're going to tell here? Because they are kind of moving, like the Revolution typically sets the tone for the rest of the year. So are they going to be focusing more on these 4 pillars this year?
Jim, what do you think about a 4 pillars fight?
I think it would. I think it's going to take a while to get there. I don't think, you've got all this equity in these guys. Are you going to spend it all on MJF's title reign? It seems like a lot. And if you're going to do it, I think you're going to need a build. I don't think it can be just, I could be wrong, but it seemed like the next pay-per-view, that'd be a kind of a fast thing if you got these.
Sure.
They're supposed to be the four pillars. I could see it happening. It just seems like with AEW booking, I don't know that would happen so quickly.
Right.
And also, it's like, who do you give that equity to?
Sure.
Who is this for? I mean, we've already spent Danielson's equity on MJF. He's now the best wrestler in the world.
Right.
And that's obviously the plan, I'm sure.
Right.
Brian's cool with it. That's what they want to do.
The best technical wrestler.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, I know.
I just think that they're going to. I agree with this comment that pushing young wrestlers is a big deal. I mean, we saw Jungle Boy win. We saw pretty much young guys win the whole time on the last pay-per-view, and that's a great thing. I mean, that's what wrestling needs right now. You look at WWE, and they've got a lot of the old guard is kind of breaking down, and really it seems like the only young guy they're pushing right now is Austin Theory.
Yeah.
I think it's going to take some more time with Dominic. They got some things that are percolating, but I'm not sure how many people they're exactly ready for that next step. Younger guys, younger than say 35.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So no, I think the changing of the guard seems like a very natural time to be happening right now.
So who do you think the MJF's next feud/opponent is going to be at this point? I mean, do you have any guesses on this, or are you just like,
it's gonna be Punk. I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen some people wondering if it's going to be Hangman too, like because of the match last week, because he's kind of put himself in position. And I was listening to Matt Hardy's podcast, some of it yesterday, and he was actually talking about how like he thought that like it elevated. Oh, you're fine.
Go ahead and keep talking.
Okay, but they were talking about how it elevated this match elevated Hangman to another level, and it kind of brought him back. Like when he was champion before, he didn't have the star power that he has now, and so that whenever he wins the title again, I don't think he would obviously be the one to take it off MJF in their next feud, but that he was like, and his title reign wasn't bad by any means. It's just he didn't have the star power that he has now, and all the stuff that he's built up. So eventually when it is time for him to be champion again, like he thinks it'll be an even better title run. So I don't know that they do that this fast, because can you have MJF? I mean, Hangman lose to MJF right now? I don't know. I mean, he is in the prime position, I think, because of that win, but I don't know that I would put him in that spot right now. maybe later in the year. Because if MJF ends up keeping the title for a year, like we've talked about, then they have some time to do. And some of these may not be straight up feuds where they last like until a whole pay-per-view cycle. These may be feuds that last, a few weeks, and then he moves on to the next contender. But I don't know if Hangman can do that right now.
Yeah, I'm not really sure if he's going to be the best one. Like, if he's going to be the next one, or if it's. I know there's a lot of talk about Jungle Boy. I feel like that might be like because he ended his deal with
Christian.
Yeah,
right. Well, and then you also have like obviously Adam Cole is having his first match back at the end of the month. He's obviously not going to go straight into a a title feud. I don't think they would strap Adam Cole, and I don't think they'd put him in that position. But Adam Cole is clearly going to build to that.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that because they've got the show coming up on the 29th, and he's coming back on the 29th, and it's just Double or Nothing is still that's Memorial Day. That's
the end of May. Yeah, that's
the
end of May.
I mean, it'll come fast, but it's a long
trip. So that's I don't know
long trip.
Right. So I don't know if they're going to start a feud with MJF right now, like a long, like something to set him up with Double or Nothing now, or if they're going to, and then I was going to say, or if they're going to have him wrestle a few guys, but we forgot. I mean, I forgot he's working working smarter, not harder. So he's not really wrestling matches anyway. And so whatever he sets up for that wrestler, because, we saw Danielson wrestle a whole bunch of people, before their match. So I'm assuming his next opponent will wrestle
a little tired of the MJF trials, though. I mean, like, he needs to probably wrestle a little more often and not like send other people to wrestle. In my opinion, that's my personal opinion. It's just one woman's opinion.
Sorry about that. I get coffee.
No, you're fine.
You're good.
No,
we all understand.
Yeah, not a problem.
Good. We're good. We're good. We're totally good.
Yeah, so that'll be it'll be interesting if they do any type of so then maybe even if they don't do the 4-way feud anytime soon, maybe it's something they're kind of planting seeds for several months or throughout the year. It'll be interesting if they start kind of pushing Sammy to do stuff outside of JAS, or not necessarily like where if they start building Sammy back up, and even building Darby up where he's not just doing stuff with Sting. Like maybe he does, it will be interesting to see how each of their paths, like how they build them up to get them to the 4-way match, whether it's something that happens at the end of the year or maybe it's something that happens next year. Like it could be interesting to see how they build up not just Jungle Boy, but all 4 of them. And Brad says this would have been the perfect place for MJF versus Eddie Kingston for a short feud. I understand. Quit. I understand why they pulled Eddie to ROH. That is a really him and Claudio was a very good first feud for ROH. I think it's smart to build that, and I don't know how long they're going to keep the title on Claudio. But Brad makes a very good point that this would have been a perfect time to do a short little something with him, and he's tweeting out Aristotle quotes every day. But I love Eddie Kingston, so I'm glad. Especially, and also it's interesting that they moved him over to ROH when he is also part of All Access. You would think that they would want him on AEW TV during that time as well, but
we'll see if we can understand what he says with all the bleeps that are
with all the bleeping that they're gonna do.
Just gonna be like Eddie starts to say something and he's like, I'm yeah, okay. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's the main thing that I'm looking forward to the show. I don't know how much about that show I will keep up with, but I really just want to see what Eddie's going to do in that situation, just in that kind of a reality show situation.
Jim, are you interested in All Access? You getting that on your DVR?
I'll watch it. I'll watch at least one.
Yeah,
we'll see. I mean,
that's where I'm at too.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a waste of time, I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah.
That's where
I'm at.
And I just thought Sammy Guevara is on that show as well. So maybe that's kind of where they push that type of, I mean, he and Ty obviously will be on there, and then they've got the JAS. So I guess that kind of works because JAS kind of does the sports entertainment stuff, and it kind of goes back to that. So maybe that's where Sammy, I hope they don't build feuds for Sammy on on All Access, but it's certainly possible if they did it with Total Divas.
Yeah, that's the scary part, is if they decide to do some of that crossover stuff. That can work, but it can also be pretty tragic. So we're gonna talk about something else. We're gonna talk about kidneys.
Oh yeah.
Because I think it's very important. And Sam and I like to, we've had lots of people on our show that are parts of walks of life of the wrestling community. And I'll hear real quick. Eddie reminds me a lot of Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper there.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But real quick here, we want to talk about this because it's really important, because Jim needs a kidney.
I do.
Why don't you tell the people, and I will put information on the screen here for the people to know, and you can explain what you would like.
There it is right there. So I have a rare condition, GPA, granulomatosis, with polyangiitis. It used to be called Wagner's vasculitis. It's a disease of the blood vessels in the immune system. My immune system attacked my body, and there's inflammation of the blood vessels. And the first time it happened, we caught it quick enough. But people in my condition, a lot of times, if you don't catch it quick enough, it can spread to the kidneys and the heart, because it's the vascular system goes through your entire body. So anyway, this last time, unfortunately, we didn't catch it fast enough. And so it damaged my kidneys. They still function, but they don't filter very well because there's a lot of scarring on the kidneys now. And so I need a new kidney. I'm on the dialysis. I've got a little port.
Yeah, you've got the portable one though, right now? You said
I've got home dialysis. So this is connected to my chest. And I hook it up every night to the machine, and it filters everything.
Filters all the crap out of your bloodstream.
Yes,
and does what your kidney is supposed to do.
Right. And so, yeah, I'm looking for a donor, obviously. With a cadaver donor, it can take years, and it also doesn't work as well as a live donor. So that's why a live donor is so important. I am an A positive blood type.
Which makes total sense to me.
So if you're, isn't that nice? It all works out. It's branding.
It's totally branding.
If you're A or O, it would work. You can find out more information at uw.donorscreen.org or 206-598-3627. If you need my birth date information, just message me. I'll give you the info you need, but it's a process like that, and we'll make arrangements for flights or whatever if you don't live in the Seattle area.
Oh wow, that's great.
Yeah,
that's right. Oh, because you guys have you have the Travel Connect.
Well, I think that's what they do too, but who knows what we can do.
That's, you know what, but we want to get the word out because we do this a lot for lots of people, and we talk a lot about the power of the actual wrestling community, not the neck-bearded, mouth-breathing trolls.
You are fat, neck-bearded, mouth-breathing trolls.
Sam gets a lot of them because of her keeping an eye on the scores of
the timing of women's matches.
That's her comments. They're sometimes filled with them, and she has a very thick Twitter skin, so she does not care or boost any of that stuff.
I just block them all because I don't have the time or energy. But I need that clip. I'm just gonna post. And
well, you genuinely like. We should make a meme for you, or a GIF.
I appreciate that, Jim.
Message me. I'll send you a link.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. I just
when she said it, she popped me because I was like, "Oh, you mean all the people in Sam's Twitter comments?"
Yeah, when Ruby said that, I was like, I feel you, girl. I'm probably not nearly on the same level as them.
No,
And it
but,
doesn't
I
happen.
mean-
It doesn't happen that often. It just when it does. But that was the one from 2 Fridays ago. That's the first. Usually it's like 3 or 4.
It's because you got that question on the scrum, and so your name was
probably.
on
And
the
then,
thing.
but yeah, Friday I blocked literally over 30 accounts that day because I was just like, I don't have the time or energy trying to do my day job on top of that has nothing to do with wrestling. I was like, it's just I don't have time, and I'm not going to give you access to stuff if you're. I mean, I was like, it's not worth it. I'll just block it all, and then so.
Well, and
but
we
yeah.
have what's nice here too is that like the Viking media guys, like this community that we're in, also they're very supportive. So they like check in and are like, "Are you okay? Do we?" Yeah, I mean, Ryan Frederick is a professional troll hunter, so if you ever need any help, just let him know.
That's what I should have done. I should have been like, you got some free time?
Even poor Jim picked up some idiot troll the other day.
I've had 99% positive, but
Yeah.
ever since Twitter changed,
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
That's part of it too, because I would get, and it would only happen like a few times a year, and it would just be like 2 or 3 people, and it was just nothing.
It went from being totally like
it probably
it
showed
was
up
like
in showed up in the For You section, and then it didn't help because I was on the media call and asked the question the day before, so then my name was out there because a few people had like tweeted, because we were all live tweeting it, and a few people tweeted my name, not my but that probably the firestorm that is, because Twitter is all. I love Twitter, but I also hate it. And it's just gotten so much worse.
What I get is because I work for the Observer, so
right.
I hate WWE,
Of course.
But the thing that bothers me, it's like they don't listen to my show. If you listen to my show, I have not been very negative on WWE at all.
Right.
But it's like if you have a problem with something specifically I said, that's fine.
Right.
That's fair game.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Dave Meltzer, you must hate this. You must hate that.
Right. Because you all have to have the
You
same
don't even know.
mindset. Yeah.
I'm constantly giving out to Garrett about why he's not forking over that sweet Tony Khan cash
No
to me.
kidding.
He's not sharing in that. Yeah, why isn't he not? He's not sharing the wealth, man.
Tony
Not at
doesn't.
all.
I'm like,
Patreon. We don't need a Patreon. You're in the bag for freaking
Dude,
Tony.
pay me off. I'll take the money.
You're right.
like somebody once said, everybody has a price.
I'm happy to sell out.
Don says you think WWE would just start paying the Observer staff too. Yeah.
Right?
You would think.
It's my
Somebody.
my favorite troll is the troll that decides to subscribe to the Observer so that they can bash it. I'm like, you realize
can
you
hate
lost,
listen.
right?
You're giving them your money.
You're like,
Well, that's like the people who go to like WWE shows and pay good money for decent seats to have like Jim Cornette's on.
I don't look. Jim Cornette, been in the wrestling business 50 years or
Right.
40 years. He has a right to his opinion
Sure.
and has a right to say things.
Sure.
What bothers me, and anybody can have whatever opinion they want, but it's, for example, Riho is great.
Yes.
And it's like, if you don't like her, that's your prerogative.
Right.
But it's like, you gotta put some respect on the name.
Sure.
If you want to say you don't like her, that's fine. But if you watch her wrestle, you can see she can lay it in. She can do a lot of things. So it's like, it's fine if it's not your cup of tea, but put some respect on that name.
Yeah, definitely.
That's all
100%. Yeah.
but he's not. I mean, they're not in it for that. Like those people are sort of cult leaders in their way. I mean, I'm probably going to take so much shit for that, but
I'm just saying, you're not Jim Cornette. You haven't earned the right to do that.
Yeah. Yep.
That is, yeah, exactly.
No, that's the perfect way to put. Yeah.
You have the right.
I take your point.
Not like Rio. That's fine.
Right.
You don't be using Cornette's terminology. You haven't earned that right, is what I'm saying.
Right.
No.
100% right about that. Yeah.
Yeah. When you do 50 years in the wrestling business,
That's
you
what
can
I'm
talk like Jim Cornette. Perfect. No, that's
Yeah.
preach. That's perfect. So what do you think? All right, we cover everything. Do we have anything else?
Don says Jim Cornette is a smart man who chooses to be dumb for attention.
Correct.
Oh, he's a worker. He
works everybody. He works his own listeners.
You know, ever since the whole Ariel Hawani thing, there have been people, you know, making inferences about Tony Khan.
Yes.
And I'm like, you don't think people in 80s wrestling ever used cocaine?
Have you heard about 80s wrestling?
Yeah. Built by
Oh,
cocaine.
they did.
Yeah.
They
Like on the daily.
Yeah.
It's like
it was freaking.
That was their diet.
Dude, it was like they were like pharmaceutical. They went to the chemistry lab and the bar. That's like what they did. They like hit the cocaine, hit the ketamine,
right,
and hit the bar. Like,
yes, exactly.
They used to like slip each other Mickeys as ribs. That was like, in the worst possible way. Like this is. Yeah,
it's not new. So Brad says Jim knows that what people will listen to him to pay to hear, and he leans into that heavy. Yeah, because it pays his bills.
He's a smart man.
He knows what he's doing. He's exactly, get paid. He knows.
Don't hate the
I mean,
player,
it's
hate
just
the
well, I
game,
mean, it's like
me?
it's like Howard Stern. Like Howard Stern was obviously the shock jock of the night. I mean, he obviously is still on the radio, but like that's what he was known for, and he knew people were tuning into that, so he turned it up to 10. Actually, probably like 15, and then he got paid for it. Now he's on Sirius, and he made some like insane contract, and they're paying him very well over there because they're paying for his name. Mark said it was used as a payment in some places. Oh, I 100% believe it wasn't just a hot dog and a handshake. It was
some places.
Yeah.
I don't know. Here, I read that Chic book. Sometimes it really was. He was wow. What a great that book is so good. Brian Solomon's writing a book about Gorilla Monsoon coming up here too, so I'm very excited for that to come up next. But I digress. Yes.
Again, I don't know who uses anything.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm not, but you know.
But when you see that comment, you're like, do you know anything about 80s
I'm
wrestling?
pretty sure that there are many wrestling promoters who have indulged in that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
It's theater. It's Hollywood in its own way, and that's that stuff. I mean, as someone who like works, I mean, the other half of my background is entirely in theater, and all of this, anything that's performance related, anything that has performance in it, and I mean, sports is regulated, so like. Professional sports are regulated. Otherwise, you can't get caught with that stuff. Although even those guys do it. Like if you've ever read some of the stuff that they know how to get around the drug tests. Like
it's an IQ test.
Exactly.
Yes. And Don Don says there's a lot of stories about Vince having snow days too. Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Looking about Don.
Also, if there any wrestling promoter deserves the name Snowman, it's her or Abrams.
Snowman is great.
Herb Abrams shows are amazing.
I think that's a good place to wind down and let's end on the cocaine. Cocaine Bear is out. It's just
about to say Cocaine Bear.
We can get that. That is a key. We will hashtag that right in there. It'll be hilarious.
Do you want the song or not?
Oh,
yes, we do want the song.
We are going to play the song out. I actually had one more question for you. We're going to play us out like we did yesterday because I thought that was great.
Please stick around for that. Don't just hop off yet. You need to hear the song. It's great.
No, we're not going. We will go away. The song will come on. You may see our reactions to it. I don't know how it's going to work on our thing to it. I had to ask you, and I think you mentioned it, but I have to ask, how many times do you think you listen to The Gambler exactly?
Hundreds this week.
And is it still stuck in your head?
No, now that it's done, I'm trying to separate myself.
Thank God, because it's still stuck in my head. But that's okay
Yeah,
because
I don't know. My wife was like, "It's stuck in my head now. Thank you."
it's a worthwhile
Yeah.
week starter. It's my dad used to love Kenny Rogers. He was a Kenny Rogers fan, so it works out perfect. But
Yeah.
So first of all, Jim, any plugs? Anything you want to put out there to the world?
I do Wrestling Observer Live on Saturdays. You can listen. I've got a YouTube channel, Jim Valley. Subscribe to that. There's travel with my wife and wrestling stuff on there. Yeah, I do Saturdays for Wrestling Observer. You can download it at the Observer, or you can listen on Sports Byline, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, every Saturday. I do Pacific Rim with Fumi. I've got a Portland WrestleCast out right now with John Nord. Speaking of stories, all kinds of great stories
I can imagine.
from John Nord. They did something in Portland back in the 90s. In the late 80s, the Boxing and Wrestling Commission really tightened down on the regulations. One of the reasons that WWE didn't run Portland for like almost the entire 90s. And so they needed something to pop the crowds. And Nord came up with this idea of pelting the opponents with big plastic jugs of milk, like at the store. Apparently, he used to work at a dairy, and they got into a fight one day and started throwing them at each other, and they hurt like hell. You can find it on YouTube. I encourage you to watch it. It's John Nord versus Brian Adams, the Crush from WWE. So what they did, because chairs, they couldn't do chairs, they couldn't do blood, they couldn't do plating. John Nord came up with this idea for the Breakfast Club, where they tied up Brian Adams and they take these jugs of milk and they just boom, throw them down on him and then dump boxes of cereal on top of him.
Oh my gosh.
You can watch Brian. Brian is not selling. Brian is like, this sucks.
Oh man, that sounds great.
I'm into this.
About the origins of that. John talks about Brian's reaction. John Nord, the Berserker, Nord the Barbarian. I heard for years that he's funny. And oh my God, he's so very funny, very personable. You can see why people like him. So it's a very fun interview. I lay the whole thing out so you don't have to be familiar with Portland at all. I explain it all. And then we go into an interview and talk to John Nord. So that's up at the Observer right now. It's very funny.
I'm onto that.
That sounds great.
There's all kinds of great road stories in the Portland WrestleCast.
Oh, I can imagine.
And I'm a huge, Pacific Rim's come out and it makes my whole week.
Oh, good.
I just really love Pacific Rim. You and Fumi are great. I love the battle of the kitty cats these days.
You know Fumi and I met.
Tell me.
So in 2007, my wife and I, we've been to every Disney park in the world. We're big Disney fans. So we wanted to go to Japan and go to Tokyo Disney Sea, which is an amazing park. Incredible. Right across from Tokyo Disneyland. Anyway, I was like, oh, maybe I can go see some wrestling. So this was back in 2007. I think MySpace was the thing still.
Oh my God, yay.
And so social media hadn't really taken off.
Mhm.
A lot of the web wasn't translated yet. So I messaged Dave Meltzer. And I'd interviewed Dave. I knew him a little bit. And I emailed Dave thinking he just would probably know. And Dave's like, email this guy, Fumi, he'll know. And so I emailed Fumi, and Fumi got right back to me. He's like, well, let's just get together and maybe we can find some shows we'll go see. So we get to the hotel in Japan. And I'm expecting, like a little salary man to show up with a suit, because they're everywhere all over.
Right.
A big SUV pulls up, like bigger than anybody else's car in Japan. Dude gets out. He's got like a Metallica t-shirt or some rock t-shirt on. Denim vest, shoulders, sleeves cut off, ponytail. Fumi's like, let's go. So we get in the car with Fumi, this SUV. And again, we're like a foot above everybody else.
So much smaller. I would actually be tall in Japan.
Right?
Or at least average height.
So God bless me. I didn't know what Fumi did. I didn't know. Dave didn't tell me. In perfect Dave fashion.
In true Dave Melton. Uncle Dave is gonna Uncle Dave.
So, like an idiot, I'm like, so what do you do for a living? Fumi's like, I'm sitting in the front seat. Fumi's like, you know that seat you're sitting in? I go, yeah. He goes, Hulk Hogan was sitting in there last week.
Oh my gosh.
Because the week before, Hogan and Bischoff had been there for some media event, for some book tour, or whatever they were selling. I don't remember. So, takes me to Ribera, takes me to all the places on the, gives me the 5-cent tour. We saw him like 3 times on the trip. He took us, he goes, what wrestling do you want to go see? And he's like, oh, we can go see some indies in town. They're really good. And I was like, no, I want to go see Misawa. So he took us to Differariaki, which isn't even there anymore. And we saw a Noah show. He was in a 6-man tag. He was fat. He did nothing. But by God, I saw Misawa.
That's right.
We also saw on the show a young Ted DiBiase Jr.
Oh, wow.
Before he was in WWE, who actually showed some charisma. I thought, oh my God, this guy's going to be a huge star. He wasn't. But it was just amazing. The show that we saw, it wasn't anything spectacular. It was just a very typical Japanese house show with a lot of 6-man tags.
Right.
And everything. But, we saw Noah. And I saw Fat Misawa. And then, Fumi and I kept in touch. And then, podcasts started happening. And Fumi's like, I want to do a podcast, Jim. You're going to do a podcast with me. We started doing the podcast, and then we went full circle that we're on the Observer. So
That's
Where you
such a
belong.
cool story.
yeah,
I'm so glad that you told that story.
Fumi's
Thank you.
like,
Thank you for sharing that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely. That's a great story.
It feels like you guys are that's awesome. It's
yeah, Fumi's the
wonderful.
best. Fumi's done
That's-
a lot for me.
Oh God, so great. That makes the podcast even better. I love it. I just love it so much. I'm so glad that
Well,
that's
Fumi, as you know, he's got a desire to share his knowledge.
yes, exactly. That's what I
And he's
love about it.
It's like, well, people are doing podcasts today, so now I need to do a podcast.
Yeah.
Do a
Right.
podcast. And who am I not to? Like, I'm going to say no.
Yeah, right. It's so
Right
much
to Fumi. Yeah.
fun.
Hi, I'm nobody. I'm not going to do a podcast with you. Yeah.
Oh my God, yes.
Nikki said that was a great story, and Don said he needs to release those awesome
Yeah.
t-shirts again.
Yeah, those Fumi t-shirts are great.
Yes, and Brad said that was
I bet
so
he
good.
thinks that they won't sell because he seems like the sweetest person in the world.
Very
It's like
humble, very
you're very wrong. Those would sell. I would buy 2.
Yeah, I know.
2 of them.
The whole Fight
Seriously.
Game Media would wear them, and just we'd probably all buy at least
It's
one,
great.
wear
It's
them all.
fascinating because
That'd be hilarious for WrestleMania weekend.
every
Like the
time we go
whole.
to Japan, my wife loves sushi. She always wants to go to sushi. And Fumi's like, you can get good sushi in Seattle. You don't need sushi. And Fumi, we always go to like American chain restaurants. So we've been to Outback, TGI. Fumi and I, we get together. We go to some bar that has wings.
Awesome.
And we
Great.
never eat at Japanese restaurants with Fumi. He always American chain restaurants.
Oh my God, that's
That's so
awesome.
great.
Oh God, I could sit and listen to Fumi stories and Jim stories all day, but I think that we're gonna
I'm
thank
gonna play this
Jim.
song.
My pleasure.
Yes,
mean-
thank you so much for joining us.
anytime,
That's
anytime.
great.
Please come back. That'd be
Oh,
great
of course.
anytime. I'm. This has been a great pleasure, and I'm so
Podcast.
excited. And
We're
that
mixing
is like
children's parties. Whatever.
Yeah.
sweet, awesome.
Do
Not
rebar mitzvahs.
Yeah.
rebar mitzvah. That's right.
We're doing
Let me
one.
see. All right, guys. So we're gonna play you out.
Do you want to hear about
Real
the
quick.
song? We gotta tell you about the song real quick.
Okay,
Okay,
tell
yes,
them.
please
Yeah,
do.
yeah, that's right. Because we are going to
Obviously,
post the links to the Bandcamp for these folks
Yeah,
that did the song.
The Gambler, or the gambling story, was a big deal. And, you know, I do my show on Saturday. And by Saturday, Brian's had a week to talk. Andrew and the Mad Men do their thing. Everybody's done their thing. All the jokes, all the news. And I'm like, well, I should do something. And so then I listened. I had the idea for Kenny Rogers and the Gambler. So I listened to the song and I'm like, it seems awfully ambitious. But then I kept listening to it over and over again. Look up rhyming dictionaries to get ideas. Eventually, after, listening to the song 1,000 times, I thought if I could just make it to the chorus once, that's good. You don't need the full song. And then the full song just sort of happened. So, and I'm like, after the procedure I had last Thursday, I was like, I can't sing it. I was like, could I Shatner my way through it? But I decided I needed to sing her, so I put it out on Twitter. And somebody tweeted me back saying, with a GIF of Tombstone, or of Tombstone, said, "I'm your Huckleberry."
Love it.
His name is Matthew Lindley. He's from Seattle. He sings in a band called The Misbehaviors. He's got a thing on Bandcamp. You can find it at Matthew Lindley. So I sent him the lyrics, and he sent this back, and it's chef's kiss.
It is.
He did
is
great on the
great.
vocals. I wrote the song. He did the vocals. It's absolutely perfect. I can't thank Matthew Lindley enough. So
Well,
And we
thank you
will
for,
post it.
for allowing us to play it on our show.
Yeah,
Great.
definitely. Yeah,
My-
and we will definitely post a Bandcamp link, guys. Bandcamp is wonderful. If you
Yeah.
do Bandcamp on Friday, it's free. Free fees for the artists. So, do it on Fridays. But you can donate any amount. Usually, it's a great service. It's wonderful for the artists. And if you do it on Friday, they get 100% of the proceeds.
And will Elon let us share Bandcamp links? Do you know?
I think
He
so.
will.
Okay.
He does. I
believe
know he
so.
does because my good friend Hob the Troll, who puts out wonderful. He's
Okay.
the only good troll
Then I'll do that.
anywhere.
Then I'll do that. I'll put out his.
Yeah.
I'll tweet out his Bandcamp too, for sure.
Yes.
For sure.
We'll make sure that we get that out to you guys too,
Definitely.
All
so
right.
that you guys can see it.
All right. So thank you,
this is
Jim. Everybody have a great week, and we will see you guys next week. Here we
Yes,
go.
and please enjoy this song
Hopefully
and get it stuck in your head for the week.
and hopefully this will play right. All
I
right. Here
think I
we go.
call this the wrestler. Or the
It's
gambler.
called a DraftKings Gambler.
There we go.
I like it. Here we go.
Love it.
Maybe.
I have it if you don't.
Can you guys hear it?
Now we can.
Plane bound for Backlash. Met up with a wrestler, both too excited to sleep. So we took turns of staring. DraftKings on my iPhone. Something overtook him. He began to speak. Said, "Son, I've made a life. Had a bet in wrestling matches. Knowing every finish. Breaking all the rules. If you don't stooge my secrets, I know all the outcomes. For a taste of your Pepsi, I'll give the result." So I handed him my bottle, and he drank down my last swallow. Then he burped the Judas theme. It was very strange. The guy got really quiet. His face lost all expression. He said, "If you're gonna bet on DraftKings, understand the game. You gotta know where to bet on Roman. Sometimes on Strowman. Never bet on Sami Zayn. That's a sucker bet. You never count your money. When you're sitting in Gorilla, there'll be time enough for counting on the corporate jet. Every wrestler knows the secret to this business. It's not how much cash you make, it's how much you save. Every match has a winner, but every match a loser. The best that you can hope for is 5 stars from Uncle Dave. When he finished speaking, he turned back toward the window, zipped up his fanny pack, tightened up his tape. Somewhere over San Juan, the wrestler did the honors. In his final promo, I found a wager I could make. You gotta know to bet on Roman, sometimes on Strowman. Never bet on Sami Zayn, that's a sucker bet. You never count your money. When you're sitting in Gorilla, there'll be time enough for counting on the corporate jet. You gotta know to bet on Roman, sometimes on Strowman. Never bet on Sami Zayn, that's a sucker bet. You never count your money. When you're sitting in Gorilla, there'll be time enough for counting on the corporate jet. You gotta know to bet on Roman, sometimes on Strowman. Never bet on Sami Zayn, that's a sucker bet. You never count your money. When you're sitting in Gorilla,